What's going on, my high vibrational folks? It's your boy Inside 11, and right now we are discussing the rejuvenation of your inner child. Now, what is your inner child? Your inner child is that part of you that's childish, that's kid-like, that's willing to explore the aspect of you that associates with you being young, you willing to expand, you willing to see new horizons, you not thinking and feeling before going into an experience, and you actually going to experience stuff without you necessarily trying to logically interpret the experience. So when we lose our inner child, we can become extremely dry, and block our own emotions, block our own imaginations, block our own new ways of seeing things because our inner child has been shut down. Now, think about the behavior of a little kid when you see them running around. The kid is not logically interpreting things with their left brain yet. They're learning things. They're collecting data about the world, but the child really spends a lot of time with inside of the right brain energies, which is basically fire and water, things that have to do with creativity, you feeling other people's presences, you seeing something a different way. And so when it comes to myself, for example, I lost my inner child because my environment kind of put me in a space where I had to quickly logically interpret what was going on around me, because if I tried to feel what's going on around me, that would be kind of looked at as negative. And so a lot of people are put into a position where you're not necessarily allowed to feel about the world, you're not allowed to necessarily see the world from your own point of view. Instead, the institutions that the shadow government, the powers that be, have put in place, puts us in a realm and a space where we have to overly logically interpret things with our left brain. Why? Because they only want us to communicate like AI technology, say particular things, move in particular ways, and communicate in a particular manner. And they want you to practically go about life doing a certain in a certain manner. So they want you to externalize yourself, but they don't want you to use your internal contents, which is basically your yin realm. And if you do use your fire and water energy, which is your right brain, which is your children energy and things like that, then they're gonna make sure that you do it in a way where it's like was for the purpose of confusing things, and you're kind of like confusing your feelings for other things. For example, how we have the whole men want to be females and females want to be men, where they're taking things that they're swapping the position of things, and then based on our physical bodies and things like that, that puts us in a further state of confusion and things like that. And so what we want to understand here is that your inner child has to do with your sense of exploration, your sense of seeing things, your sense of feeling things, but we lose that due to the encouragement of the environment to be overly left brain, because we see how things are practically done and we see how things are logically spoken. And so if we don't put ourselves in that box, we might be seen as like a childish person. Key word. So being a childish person is almost seen as a bad thing. But it's from childish behavior that we learn new things. I guarantee you a lot of these artists, a lot of these movie directors are very childish. They act like children because they're putting themselves in this space where they can constantly seek, where they can constantly explore, they can constantly evolve. But it comes from the balance as well of your left brain and right brain. You can just observe society today, and you can see how extremely left brain out, or extremely masculine out, or extremely polar shift out as far as switching positions between two genders is society today. And they do that for a reason, because they want to make sure that your left brain and your right brain hemisphere don't have sex with each other and produce thoughts and feelings of equilibrium, which is basically following the narrow path, which is basically you understanding all aspects of yourself and understanding that not to get lost in either or, but at the same time you are born with more characteristics and attributes in one of the hemispheres more than the other. And so this is why we have right brain planets and left brain planets that dictate these things as well. And so when it comes to, for me personally, when it came to rejuvenating my inner child, I had to accept, my own way of going about things, my own feelings. In fact, to accept my gut, because for so long I've rejected my own gut feeling, my gut instincts, and that's me rejecting my own feelings. It's telling God, no, God, this can't be true, and I need to logically and practically go about things this way, rather than me tuning into my own internal voice and seeing what was going on from my perspective. Because whenever you're interpreting things from somebody else's perspective, you might get lost a little bit. Even as far as the education system, they give you a few options. They logically tell you, okay, look, and practically tell you, look, if you go to this career, now you have options, obviously, but again, you're using your left brain energies in so much, but you're not getting in touch with your right brain, your creative energies. They just show you, okay, pick one of these jobs because this job is going to pay you this job is going to pay you this, blah blah blah. You have all these logical decisions to make, but society never gives you time to get in touch with your inner child, to get in touch with your creative energy, to get in touch with your creative spark. Because me, I'm one of the most childish people in the world. Now I used to be the most oldest people in the world. I'm an old soul and all that shit too. I got a lot of experience from other realms and realities and other bodies as well. But the main thing here is that, when you get lost in the left brain way too much, you're going to abandon something that's really, really important to you. And you're going to be asking yourself certain questions when you grow up about why certain things fell short, why the marriage, feels like it's not working anymore. Because, once the honeymoon stage is over, I would hope that you married somebody that's into the same thing you're into, because that will empower whatever you're doing way further, and whatever fluids you guys are exchanging in the sexual act, which is also just a mental act, will actually help what y'all are doing go further. Now, there's a lot of ways you can structure your marriage and your life, but that's just one example to show you in this modern society how we logically interpret so much our relationships and the person that we are with. Literally a walking woman, a walking feeling, where we try to logically interpret this feeling, and we try to put this feeling in a box with, this side that tells you prenup, you gotta do this logical paperwork, you gotta do this, blah blah blah, all these things. And the right brain is completely blocked out of these processes and these, and basically this lifestyle that we created for ourselves. Really, it's not a lifestyle that we created for ourselves. Really, it's a process handed to us by the shadow government and the Masons and things like that, by them knowing how to do things behind the scenes and understanding the circle of life. And so they understand how to create circumstances and situations for you to play out based on, all your houses and things like that. So, if you look at your house system, if you have your seventh house, your partners, your relationships, how you relate to people, how you initiate relationships, they got something for that. As far as, your environment, how you communicate amongst your environment, your neighbors, they make you do that in a particular manner. And your routines and your patterns and all that, they make you do all these things in a particular manner, not by accident, but it's because they want to control people from all angles. And so they want to make sure that your inner child is trapped. They want to make sure that your inner child doesn't get validated to come out unless it's validated by a program or by a system that they have already put in place for you. And so we have to let go of the physical world and be willing to be absent from the body. I'm not saying like kill yourself and be absent from your body. No, I'm saying these practical, these logical things are only creations of our right brain, of how we felt. Because you gotta understand that a man, for example, wouldn't build a castle unless he has a female living in that castle. Because why else men would build castles and houses? Because they want females. It's not like they build these houses and castles for other dudes. Like, ain't no man out there gonna build a castle for another dude, okay? They did it for the women. So women are obviously very inspiring, and you can see how in certain parts, like the Middle East, for example, I had a friend who went to Egypt, and then he was telling me how when there was cashing out, the female wouldn't even look in your eyes because, obviously a female in the Middle East is basically a second-class citizen. And so you can see how and I would even go further and tell you that the only reason that the Sahara Desert manifested is because of the extreme masculine energy that keeps going on in that area. Because whatever mental atmosphere you create inside of your mind, and you have a large group of people practicing that practice as far as a religion or a way of life, that actually starts to manifest on the geographical location and things like that, because you're communicating with the environment when you're praying and when you're doing all these things. So they went way too extreme. They don't have no feminine, creative, right brain energies and things like that. And when they do bring that energy in, it's going to be by a female who's already extremely logical from the West, but because she's a female, she's in touch with her feelings, is going to be able to bring in certain aspects of that. So, this is why as well, like, man, it's just a crazy world that we live in. So this is why it's very important for us to rejuvenate our inner child by letting go of the things that blocked the expression of our inner child, whether our inner child was accepted or not. Because whether your inner child was accepted or not, you gotta understand that it's gonna bring massive value to your life and massive changes to your life, because those fresh dance moves, those new lyrics, those however you're going about things, your inner child has to do a lot with that. And so if you reject your inner child, really, man, you're gonna be giving birth to like dead babies, dead thoughts and feelings. And so you're gonna be missing something from life, and you're not gonna be able to necessarily recognize what that is. But the thing, what that is that thing that you lost when you was a kid. So you need to learn to get in touch with that, because listen, people are gonna beat your mind to get that thing out of you, because to them, that's not something beneficial. That's not something familiar. Again, that's not something practical. That's not something logical. And so it's going to be left let aside. Hey, you shouldn't feel this way because your feelings don't matter. We need to go logically about the circumstance, because if you don't leave food on the table, obviously there's certain logical things you have to do. And I'm not saying logic or practicality is bad. It's good, because otherwise, if a logical, practical person didn't measure out the dimensions of this table, it wouldn't be symmetrical and things like that. But it doesn't have to be symmetrical either. But I'm just saying there's benefits to these different areas of your brain, but we need to balance it. And one of the most important things that they get you lost in is the left brain, because they run that realm of reality very well. They control the interpretations of life, basically. And they tell you that, hey, look, there's only one specific way things can be practically done, and it's got to be done this way. While it's not true, you're in a system, and if you understand how to work the system via your creativity, your right brain energies, with a willingness to see and feel new things, as far as thought forms that you receive that you can use to go about your circumstance and navigate through life, then you can understand that you can see how certain creative individuals will use even the credit system to their advantage and be able to fund their business or be able to fund their operations. Or because there's a lot of ways you can use your right brain energy in a left brain society that's missing that. And so this is why a lot of people say, oh, there's a lot of loopholes in the tax code. And if you understand those things, then you're able to apply those things into your life. But because we only believe, okay, we gotta go to college and get a degree. Oh, okay, you're Middle Eastern, okay, you gotta get an arranged marriage. That's just the logical, practical way of doing it, brother. Praise Allah. So again, you're gonna be missing a lot of things from your life if you don't integrate that, that part of yourself back into yourself. And again, at the end of the day, you're gonna be helping yourself massively and tremendously, because you're gonna have all these new right brain energies, all these new ways of going about a circumstance that the average person doesn't necessarily see. Because, for example, dating, for example, logically, practically, in a time like this where you have COVID, blah 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 blah, people want to use apps like Tinder, I don't know, fish fillet. I made that one up. But the point being is that there's more than one way that these things can be done. But if you're gonna let someone logically and practically tell you how these things should and have been done, then you're never gonna discover a new way, and you're not gonna be the new Michael Jackson. You're not gonna be the new what's his name, Tony Robbins. You're not gonna be the new Dan Pena. You're not gonna be the new anything, because to create something new, you have to do a full cycle. And so if you're only stuck in one cycle, one hemisphere of the brain, and you're constantly doing that, and your right brain is trying to give you some sparks, some awareness, but you're not integrating that into the whole nature of your reality, then you're going to see how you're starting to miss those opportunities and miss those things that are supposed to be for you. But it's because you have degenerated one of your expressions and highly generated one of your expressions. And so we have to value the totality of the cell, because God is a circle and God is one. And so if you don't accept that part of you, your right brain, your inner child, then it's good to decompartmentalize things and understand things, and then sectionalize things and see how things interact with each other as far as your organs as well. because your chakras are your organs as well. Chakras are basically organs as well. Chakra is just a metaphysical word to describe something that has movement that interacts with the rest of the body, which is an ecosystem. So this is why it's very, very important for you to understand your inner child. And I hope and I pray that I don't pray, I don't ask. See, if you're watching this channel, you're gonna integrate your inner child. So it's only just a matter of time, because once I give you more information, more awareness, more benefits, more knowledge, then eventually you're gonna have to see that clearly, that the benefits far outweigh the negatives. And so it's my job to help you benefit from your growth. And so by watching this video, you're just only investing in yourself. So I appreciate you. I love you. And it ain't much you can do about it either way, bro. Real shit.